Guys are awesome. Everybody else, high five somebody again. Make your way back to your seat. Again, real quick. This is going to be short. And remember, I am putting on my intense hat for a second. Grab a seat and then come over. There are chairs in a big bucket, so we'll grab them after. Remember, I'm putting on my intense hat. In fact, we have these pads in the background just to accentuate the intensity. Whenever you have pads going, you know it's going to be intense, right? Evan likes using pads, so I'm going to roll with the pads, because it makes it feel more epic and intense, and like what I'm saying matters, right? You know it's important because there's music playing behind it. It's powerful. I have a couple of thoughts. I don't even have a whole bunch of notes for you. I just have a couple of thoughts I wanted to share, and this kind of culminated out of the series we did a couple months ago on worship. And those of you that weren't here, I'm not going to re-preach the whole series, but we did a teaching on worship, and then God started doing this crazy thing where we would talk about worship, and then we started having these crazy worship nights. Anybody remember those moments? Yeah, they were awesome. Yeet. They were so good. They were so good. And so it was crazy because we were learning concepts about worship, and then these powerful worship experiences were happening. It was like God was saying, it's not enough just to talk about it. I want you to experience it too. Can I tell you a funny story? Is Liz here? Liz isn't here tonight. Every time I see Liz, you know Liz McDonald, she goes to Abilene High. Every time I see her, yeah, Abilene, woo! Every time I see her, she goes, Pastor Luke, Pastor Luke, Pastor Luke, I have a story for you. Every time I see her. And the story could be the most random, silly thing that doesn't even matter. But she always makes everything a big story. So today, at this moment, I just want to share a story with you. So, I was at the church. I was eating lunch right there in one of those tables outside this room. And a lady walks into the church and starts talking to Pastor Rob. She had mud all up her pants to about her knees. She was kind of raggedy looking, I'll just be honest. She's a real sweet lady. Her name was Angel. And she came in and talked to Pastor Rob for a couple of minutes. And he prayed with her. And come to find out, their truck had gotten stuck in the mud down the road behind Catclaw. There was this big field that they were driving through, which I don't know why. They were driving through a field, and their truck got stuck in the mud. So she just came by. They've been living out of their truck for 3 days. They couldn't get a tow out of it. They've just been living out of this truck. And so Pastor Rob comes and grabs me while I'm eating lunch and says, hey, will you roll with me, and we'll take this lady back to her truck. We brought her some water, gave her some money, all that. So we do this whole thing, and we bring her out to her truck, and we go up to where the field starts, and we're in the church van, okay? And we're where the field starts, and it says private property, no trespassing. And she's like, oh yeah, my truck's right in there. And Pastor Rob kind of looks at her and he goes, did you see the private property sign before you drove in there? Oh yeah, but it's fine. Like there's a road through there. Like it's fine. And I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know if I want to do this. So I'm in the van and I'm like looking at him like, I want to help this lady, but like, let's make her get off and walk from here, right? Like, I don't want to drive through this private, I'm just me being real. Like, I'm not being a good pastor in that moment. I'm just being like a jerk. So he goes, I'm going to go for it. And he floors it in the church van. And so we roll through this field and you see wet spots. And I'm like, oh, good Lord, we're about to get stuck. Like, we are going to get stuck, and then we're going to be walking to another church asking for help from them, and then they're going to get stuck. And we've just started a big mess, like if you give a mouse a cookie. Like, this is a big situation. So we're going. We get up to near where their truck is, and this truck is buried up to the top of the wheel. So this truck is 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet, stuck in the mud, just sitting there. There's a dog. There's a bunch of junk in the back that they were getting ready to sell. That's why they were driving through to try to sell and scrap some stuff. And her boyfriend or fiance or whatever he was is sitting in the truck, and he comes out. And we drop her off, get a case of water out of the back of the van. She starts walking it to the truck. We do a little K-turn out of the van where you back up and then turn it the other way, and we get stuck. And I'm like, no. I have stuff to do today. I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to get dirty. I got those Jordans on that I like. I don't want to be stuck in the mud right now. So we're sitting in the mud, and Pastor Rob is driving, and he is like a pro. I'm just telling you. He's a pro stuck in the mud van driver, because he's rocking this thing back and forth. And so he gets enough traction out the back where it goes, and then he slides it forward, and so we're creating like momentum. You learned about this in physics. So we're creating this momentum, and then he goes up, And we get out, and he drives a little bit, and he gets stuck again. And this time, we get stuck, real bad. And homegirl, who we gave the case of water to, and her fiance come out of the truck and start helping us. And they have all these ideas of how to get us unstuck. They've got shovels. They've got all this stuff. No, what you got to do is and they're yelling. I'm out of the van because I don't want to be extra weight. I mean, I'm not that much, but I'm enough to be extra weight. I'm a little bit. I'm a chubby guy. So I'm like, I'm going to relieve some weight out of the van. So I get out of the van so Rob can get it over the rut we're in. And so they're yelling at, hey, you got to cut the wheel. You got to do this. Okay, now floor it. And he just stops and he throws his hands up like this. He's so sweet, like he's a big teddy bear, right? You guys know Pastor Rob, the dude's a teddy bear. But you could tell he's frustrated. And I'm sitting here watching this unfold, and the husband or fiance, whatever he is trying to shovel out mud from the tires. And I have a couple of thoughts about this situation, because I'm like, wait a second. Look at their truck. Like, they are ridiculously stuck in the mud. And they're giving us advice on how to get out. This doesn't make sense. So I have this thought, like, why are we taking advice from people getting out of the mud that are stuck in the mud way worse than we are? And then the second thought that crosses my mind, thank God we're not as stuck in the mud as they are. So I have these two thoughts kind of flash into my head. Eventually, Pastor Rob ignores them, just continues this rocking momentum, stops messing with cutting the wheel and the shoveling, and we get out of the van. He yells at me, Luke, get in. And so the fastest you've ever seen me run, because once you get this van rolling, you don't want to stop again, or what's going to happen? You're going to stuck. So he gets out of the rut and starts rolling, and I just run after the van. I feel like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. I'm running. It's like the worst, boring, the terrible, dorky version of Tom Cruise, right? I'm running, open the church van door, slide in while it's rolling like 2 miles an hour. Felt amazing. Felt like champion of the world. Yeah, we're out of here. Spraying mud behind us in their faces. So it was intense. But I think sometimes what we do is we do that in our life, is we take advice from people that are stuck in a worse situation than we are. And we have messes. We get stuck. We've got problems going on in our life. And instead of going to the one person that can solve the problems, instead of doing the things that can bring resolutions to the problem, we sit in the mud and we talk to people that are stuck with us. And we hope that they can help us get unstuck. But in reality, all we're doing is getting more stuck, because they don't have any answers. If they had the answers, why would they be stuck? If they knew how to get out of the mud, why, instead of helping you, why wouldn't they be out of the mud themselves? And I had this thought about worship as we've had these worship experiences, because we've had some great worship experiences, but what I've noticed is that we have gotten into a pattern where we now will begin to, worship will start, and some of us will clock out. And there's some of us, I'm super proud of you, because you press in and you go for it and you're going after God. But some of us check out and we say, I've done this, I know this, the worship, this is good, this is not my favorite song, so I'm going to check out. And what we do is we spend time hanging out in the foyer, talking to other people. We spend time in the back on our phones. We spend time talking to other people in the room. And I'm not saying those are bad things. We can get a lot from relationships. We can get a lot from talking to each other. But in worship, that's the chance to get unstuck out of the mud. God can do something in worship to change the situation in your life, to heal you from depression, to treat your anxiety in a way that a counselor can't. There's more that can happen in worship. Listen, counselors and friends and all that are important, and they're good, and I recommend them. I've seen a counselor, like, I appreciate that, and I'm not knocking that. But in these moments, on Wednesday nights at 6:30 until 8 o'clock for an hour and a half, I'm asking, are you going after the one person that can get you out of your situation? Even if you're not in a bad situation, even if you're not in a situation that you need rescue from, that you need to be pulled out of the mud, this is our time to focus on the Lord. So I had these thoughts rattling around in my brain about being stuck and getting unstuck and getting help from the one person that can really do it. And over Christmas break, this movie hits Netflix, Bird Box. Yay, nay. Okay, pretty good mix. It was just kind of how I felt about it. Started watching it. It's horrible. Like, okay, disclaimer, don't watch it if you haven't seen it. I think it's a terrible movie. But bad language, sex scene, it's like terrible. I stopped watching it about halfway because it was just awful. So someone spoiled it for me, though, and told me the ending. So I know how it ends. No, I'm glad because I didn't want to finish watching it. So I had this thought, though, that in the movie, and we've seen the memes. I saw the memes before I saw the movie. In the memes, Sandra Bullock is always blindfolded, and she's focused on one thing, getting to safety. And so I thought of combining these two ideas. What if we stopped focusing on what was around us and stopped focusing on all the other stuff and the people and the mud and just focused on the one thing that matters? And we say that and we go into worship, and that's great. But then the fog is in the room and the lights are on and my friend's here and this cute girl's over there, and we get sidetracked. So with some inspiration from Bird Box, what we've done, and Shane, I'll get your help, we have blindfolds for everybody. So we are going to do blindfolded worship tonight, and this is mandatory participation. Everybody gets to play tonight.